Hey, I'm Jay Royster, and today we are at Lintmen's, the future home of Seoul Food Meat Company. We're meeting with Paul Kardous and Brooks Whiteside, and they're gonna tell us all about it. So let's go take a look. So here we are at Lintmen's, a large adaptive reuse office and retail project in the heart of NoDa. Brooks, Paul, thanks for having us today.
No problem, we're happy to be here.
So before we get into talking about this deal and how things came together, if you could give us a brief background on each of you.
Sure, so I'm with Whiteside Properties, which was founded by my father in 1991 as a commercial real estate brokerage firm. And it was solely industrial real estate. And then when I started in 2010, we started relocating companies out of our neighborhood in South End and moving them out to Westinghouse, North Graham, some other industrial areas because their land and buildings had become so valuable. And from that point, I started working on a lot of adaptive reuse projects for the last 10 years.
I'm an architect by training and worked as an architect in London, New York. Then went back to grad school and did design and urban ecology's master's, and then moved back to Charlotte and have an architecture practice, but also do some commercial real estate. And we've done a few developments in the Gold District in South End and in some small towns around Charlotte, and then here at Lintmen's.
Thanks for that. So one of the really interesting things about this building and this location to me is just the real estate. It's kind of sandwiched in between three neighborhoods, three submarkets. You've got NoDa and 36th Street pushing down, Optimist Park, obviously Optimist Hall is a huge driver here, and then you have Villa Heights. So it's kind of in between all three of these submarkets, and development is pushing in here. But what was really appealing about the real estate here for you all?
Well, when we first started, I was looking on behalf of Seoul Food Meat Company, Tim and Lisa Chun, and they were looking for either a second Seoul Food location or potentially some sort of food hall concept that they had, and it really depended on the building. And we were looking in downtown NoDa at a few spaces, and then we came over here and looked at these buildings, and one of the things that we noticed was that there are some very large parcels over here that are far away from single-family residential. And so we realized that being near the light rail stop, that this would have a lot more density in the future than downtown NoDa, because in downtown NoDa, you usually have 1 or 2 rows of commercial buildings. Then you have a lot of single-family residential, which prevents high density from being built there. So here we felt like over time, the neighborhood would be able to support the type of large food and beverage operation Tim and Lisa wanted to do.
Yeah, it's really turning into a main location as all of development really pushes in to this intersection. That really leads to my next question. How important was it to have Seoul as a driver for this project? They're taking 15,000 square feet of warehouse space outdoors, as well as playing a role in the food hall concept, which is where we're sitting now. But how important was it to have Seoul as a driving force behind this project?
I think it was extremely important. There was a lot of developers that were looking at this site as a multifamily site, and they would have torn the buildings down. And at the time, there was another developer that was looking at doing adaptive reuse for office, but they didn't have a tenant at that time, and they ended up having to back out of the deal. And so Tim and Lisa of Seoul Food had a great relationship with Paul, their current landlord. I knew that this was the type of project that Paul would probably like, and I think that he saw a lot of the things real estate-wise too, about the site, the land, the Cross-Charlotte Trail, and the light rail, and that kind of came together.
And that was kind of the key driver. You know, we were always looking for kind of more stuff close to uptown, and they're few and far between now, but the fact that this parcel had the Cross-Charlotte Trail basically cutting right through the middle of it, we saw that as almost, if not a more important driver than having the light rail close by, because when it's complete, it'll basically connect Kardous County with South Carolina, So you can get on your bike or walk from here to Park Ridge Shopping Center to Uptown, all the way to Pineville without walking on the street. That was a real big driver, and the fact that we could activate that trail and basically have a front door on North Davidson Street, on 26th Street, but the real front door of both buildings is going to be on the Cross Charlotte Trail.
Great. So Paul, you're a real advocate for preservation. Can you talk a little bit about what you all have done and your goals that you've accomplished in South End with your collection of buildings there that currently houses Seoul, Let's Meet, Unknown, Craft, Lincoln Street? Can you talk about that for a minute?
Sure. Charlotte, we're always quick to tear down our buildings and kind of maximize the return per square foot of the land. But we think a lot of these old buildings have a lot of use to contribute to the city's character as well as the bottom line. Because especially as time goes on and there are fewer of them available, they're going to become more attractive places for people to want to work, open their businesses, and even live. You can see up the street, Highland Mill was a really successful conversion. We feel that the kind of tenants you can attract in some of these adaptive reuse projects, we like to go after local, kind of smaller concepts that aren't necessarily going to be in some of these bigger, newer, flashier developments. But we think that's the kind of places that people want to go to and patronize.
Great. So Brooks, can we talk about Seoul a little more? Tim has obviously done an amazing job. He's a fantastic business owner, operator. He's got aggressive expansion and growth plans. Can you talk a little bit about his business savvy, the marketing that he's really good at, as well as how the original Seoul concept came to be?
Sure. So Tim and Lisa have put together a great team, and they have some great vision for the food and beverage business. And Tim graduated from business school. He was a banker for a little bit, but he really had a passion, him and Lisa had a passion for food and beverage, and they saw a lot of need for concepts that they found internationally but could not find here locally or in DC, which is where they started their first 2 restaurants. And so when they came here in 2015 to Paul's building that he had for lease in South End, which was the old Kenny Color building, it was a printing shop, they wanted to do a ramen restaurant. And we had the plans ready to go. Our architect had drawn them. We were almost ready to submit for a permit. And Fudo Budo was announced probably 3.5 blocks away. And so Tim said, what am I going to do? We can't have 2 ramen restaurants all of a sudden 3 blocks from each other when Charlotte's never had one. I said, I don't know. What are you going to do, Tim? I've tried to tell him it would probably be okay, and I believed in him. And then that was a Thursday. And over the weekend, he fully designed what is now Seoul Food Meat Company on SketchUp. And he called me on Monday, wanted to meet with me, came in, showed me the laptop. I think, Paul, you might have been there at the same time. And I was incredibly impressed. The concept looked great. It looked like it would appeal to the South End demographic. And so that was kind of when I knew he really had a special talent for the business. And ever since then, the way they run their business is very professional. Their management team that they've grown is great. And so they're certainly poised for a lot of expansion in the future.
Yeah, being able to pivot over a weekend after, I'm sure, months or years of planning is really impressive. So they're also going to have a role in the food hall, which is where we're sitting really from here and back. But what's the plan for the rest of this building? You have creative office space and obviously the food hall, but what's the plan and timeline for that?
Well, yeah, so we have some office space fronting North Davidson Street that will be part of the whole development. The food hall here will have 12 different concepts, including the one we're actually sitting in now, which is Super, which will be a grocery store concept and kind of grab and go concept. But the interesting thing about that is that all the raw ingredients used in all the food hall stalls will be available in the market. So, all the fresh vegetables, fruits, meat, all that will be available in the market to go. So you can kind of get the raw ingredients, come grab your milk and eggs and things like that for the neighborhood. But it also ties it back to kind of conserving space too, in a kind of tight urban site, so you get as much space as possible. You can, have grocery store tied into the different stalls, food hall operations.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, all of my friends that live in NoDa, everyone loves NoDa, but if there's one complaint, it's NoDa needs a grocery store. And I know there's been rumors of other potential grocery sites around, but I think that'll be great news for any NoDa resident that be able to have a grocery store and really walkable for a lot of residents as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Cross Charlotte Trail. and you have the light rail. There's parks around, obviously all the neighborhoods that we've talked about, but if you could fast forward 2, 3, 5 years out and kind of look out, what do you see this space looking like? To me, it seems like a very communal space and a collaborative space with the work and the restaurants and the retail, but what do you guys envision here?
You know, one thing we haven't talked about is that Tim and Lisa very much want both the food hall and Seoul Food to be family oriented. They're incorporating an outdoor playground into the patio at the Seoul Food location. And then here in the food hall, they'd really like to see an indoor playground. And so they've got 2 little girls, and they've noticed that there aren't many places where you can go, the adults can go enjoy time, and the kids are having a good time too. So they're trying to incorporate that. So I think we all see, one, a lot of people, the community coming in here, either walking through the neighborhoods or coming through the Cross Charlotte Trail or getting out on the light rail line. But it being kind of a very family-oriented building that's open from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m.
And I think other things about bringing the neighborhood in, or having way more bicycle parking than is required, just because we feel like with Villa Heights and NoDa and the Optimist Park neighborhoods, kind of all right here, and the Cross Charlotte Trail, you know, people will be coming by bike a lot, by light rail, and walking, just walking down the street or walking down the trail from their neighborhood.
Well, Brooks, Paul, thanks for having us today, and I couldn't think of a better use for this building and this land in NoDa, so I'm personally very excited about it. I know the NoDa neighborhood will embrace it as well.
Thank you, we're excited to show you around.
After we leave, what do you say we go grab a bite to eat at Seoul?
Sounds great.
Yep, let's go.
Thanks for watching today. If you're interested in keeping up with the latest developments in Charlotte, make sure to like and subscribe.